turn this light on right here. Doesn't really help. All right. Okay, what's going on, everybody? This is Friday's show. Welcome to another episode of Live. Well, it's actually not just Death Church Radio today. What we're going to be doing for today's episode is I'm going to be reading through chapter 1 and chiming in and giving in my input when I feel the need to, I guess. So I'm going to be going over this book that my wife actually bought me for Valentine's Day. Don't Burn This Book, Thinking for Yourself in an Age of Unreason by Dave Rubin. And what we're going to be doing today is going through chapter 1. And like I said, I'll be giving my input, or I'll chime in when feeling that it's necessary to do so. So go ahead and treat this like a podcast for Ben Affleck. Oh, yeah, because of that. For Ben Affleck, look at that. Yeah, that was for that episode of Real Time with Bill Maher, right? When Sam Harris was on there and he was trying his damnedest to defend the Muslim faith and whatnot. Look at that. So for Ben Affleck, look at that. Dave Rubin, this freaking guy here. Okay, so chapter 1, it's time to come out. Okay, so I'm going to be reading. It's going to be 11 pages. So this is going to be video 1 of, I guess, 10 videos. So 10 chapters, 10 videos. Don't burn this book, okay? Let's go ahead and get started. It's time to come out. The original title of this book was Why I Left the Left, which is a PragerU video. For many months, the master plan was to give a definitive account of my political evolution. But as soon as I cashed the publisher's advance check, I decided that wasn't the book I wanted to write. You don't need me to go on for 250 pages about how the left has completely lost its mind. You already know this, at least on an intellectual level. And you can probably appreciate why I, a former lifelong lefty, have changed my allegiance. This is because, in quotes, as if I haven't said it on the Rubin Report enough already, end quote, the left is now regressive, not progressive. What was once the side of free speech and tolerance, the one that said, I may disagree with what you say, but I will fight to the death for your right to say it, now bans speakers from college campuses, cancels, quote unquote, people if they aren't up to date on the latest genders, and forces Christians to violate their conscience. Well, I mean, that really depends, though. I mean, I don't really have a backup for that. I mean, in a general sense, I can agree with that, but, you know, for the people out there that don't know, I'm not a contributor, but I do take a lot of the memes and read a lot of the memes that are on the Slavoj Žižek fan page. You know, a lot of leftists on there. I mean, the whole thing with, you know, putting the party streamer emojis, Rush Limbaugh's dead, you know, that was in bad taste. Sometimes it is in bad taste, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily saying they're violating my conscience or anything. You know, this guy, Dave Rubin, is, you know, I don't know. It's just kind of like the people that he's talking about. I think when it comes to like lefties, like the extreme left should be in its own camp, as opposed to people who are left leaning or even somewhat like alt left leaning. It's just, you know, that's how I feel about that. Anyways, they also alienate sensible grown-ups who dislike high taxes, oppose open borders, enjoy the free market, and harbor a healthy distrust of socialism. Okay. They're equally unwelcoming for sane decent people who have been fiscally conservative, classically liberal, libertarian, or dare I say it, the worst thing of them all, straight, white, and male. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, again, I understand the basis of this book, but it's kind of a straw man fallacy a little bit. I mean, but it's like, I believe it's like 80% correct. Pretty much correct. Like, but not completely. Rather than being all inclusive and fair, the left is now authoritarian and puritanical. There we go. Haven't read that word in a while. It has replaced the battle of ideas with the battle of feelings while trading honesty with outrage. So instead of retracting why I left the left, what you need is a book about how to leave the left and then where to go next. You need a path forward, a roadmap of how to get there. And even if you've left the left already, which I have, or never were part of the left in the first place, this book will help you understand our crazy political climate. No matter what brought you to this book, I'm guessing you're trapped in the political purgatory with quote-unquote tolerant progressives who are holding you hostage. I mean, well, I mean, I get it's, he's a comedian. It's a joke. I mean, my brother's a comedian, stand-up comedian. So, like, I get what he's doing, but it's just, it's like extreme for the purpose of being extreme. I mean, I guess I wouldn't put it like that. Perhaps you still cling to a few old school left-wing principles, but deviate from the party line on a few others, which is completely reasonable. Yet you spend a lot of time self-censoring for fear of saying something slightly quote-unquote unwoke and unleashing the mob. I mean, again, I'll just hold my opinions till the end of the page. How about that? If so, don't worry, you're not alone. Over the past few years, I've received countless emails from various people who bite their tongues and keep their opinions secret every single day. If you're in denial about whether this applies to you, ask yourself, do you ever find yourself seeking out certain sections of the bookstore when you're alone? Do you crack self-hating jokes to double bluff your way through the day? Or do you dither over what's diplomatic for your Facebook feed? Do you secretly watch Fox News with your finger on the back button in case somebody enters the room? Do you methodically clear your browsing history to erase all evidence of PragerU videos? I mean, it's not, I don't know, man. It's just, what I found out, these are just certain people. This is not 100% correct. I mean, again, he's building it to become an arc, right? To become an arc, and for it to, he's introducing the book as to what you're going to be reading. It's just, look, man, as to how I live my life, you're supposed to watch your P's and Q's when you're in certain situations. I mean, I've gotten banned myself from Twitter. I've had things removed. I mean, even just on one of these recent videos, there was a tag put on it saying that I spread misinformation about QAnon when QAnon wasn't even in. I didn't even mention it. It was in the Marilyn Manson video I did a couple days ago. It had nothing to do with QAnon. I didn't even bring them up, but for some reason they put a tag on it. I mean, it's just little things here and there. It's like, here's the thing. I don't care. Like, it's here. Okay, let me put it like this. There are very extreme people that you can put on a level, okay, on a measurement. Like, how you have the alt-right, alt-light, then I guess Republican, I guess constitutional conservative, then it's like middle libertarian, taking a guess, and then it goes, Democrat, then liberal, then alt left, and then extreme left. He's referring to people that have that, like, what's his name? Gad Sad said yesterday on the Jordan Peterson's new podcast that, the idea in these, it's like when you see anything in the news about someone who's, like, it's not cisgendered. What's the thing, like a transsexual or something, like whatever the 67 genders are. But it's like less than 5% of the world's population are people that identify as that. It's just like you get the sex changes and whatnot. It's like they're very rare people. I'm on these leftist pages myself. I'm like my dad. I'm a centrist, like Jordan Peterson, I guess. But it's just not so cut and dry like that. Yeah, these things obviously do happen to people. But I worked at a call center that, what was it? Long time, like in 2016 when I first discovered Dave Rubin and like Milo and stuff. That's all they watched in the. It was repairing garage door openers, but it was a call center. Every time I walked into the lounge, they only had it on Fox News. And this is for the job, the 700-800 people working there at this, it was a fairly big call center. Fox News was always on there. So it's like, it's not as, in real life, it's not as bad as you think it is. So it's bad, but it's really, even the neighbors in this, the neighborhood that I live in, they're all like hippie leftist people, but like, they're really nice to me. And, it's not as grim as you think it would be. And also the Gad Sad thing, I just remembered, he made a reference yesterday. He called them spider wasps, and the spider wasp, it has that, it acts like the poison that controls the spider, that kind of fungus that attacks ants. I don't know, like in the Amazon or something like that. And then the spores inside of this bacteria it goes into the ant and it controls the ant's brain. He was saying that's basically political correctness, and the people are hosts that genuinely believe in, that, what is it called? Critical race theory, something like that. Modernism, the people who genuinely believe and preach that stuff are they are the host to the disease, basically. Anyways, let's continue. Chiming in too much here. All right. So page 3. Do you hide your subscription to Ben Shapiro's podcast? Or worry that your kid brother will catch you laughing at a Steven Crowder video? Well, Steven Crowder is just not funny. Maybe you don't want your friends knowing that you read books by Jordan Peterson. Oh, I got his book right there. Yeah, I said it in the last video. But, this one's this one's been marked up from when I was working at the medical center. See, right that, bam. I don't have his first book, Maps of Meaning, and I don't have his new book either. His new book ain't out yet. Anyways, so, or you're ashamed of watching YouTube's The Rubin Report, which is hosted by a very scary but quite dapper Dave Rubin. He wrote that about himself. All right. If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then I'm afraid that you're living in fear to the woke machine. You're politically closeted, and it's time to come out. This book will show you how. Trust me. Well, yeah, that or just being yourself. It's, I guess this is written for simps or something. I don't know. Trust me, I know how it feels to deny the truth and to hide from the world all too well. I was a closeted gay man. Without a single person I felt like I could be honest with for 25 years, and it nearly broke me. Yeah, okay, well, if I keep chiming in, this is never going to get done. Every day that I denied my reality, I became increasingly lonely and depressed. It got so bad that my doctor put me on a powerful antidepressant called Celexa and told me to start seeing a shrink. Unfortunately, the medication didn't work, and I never really connected with my therapist. That happened to my dad once. Not that, being a closet homosexual, but that he saw a therapist that he couldn't connect to. But anyways, she did, however, make one astute observation. She said, I had the perfect blend of Catholic and Jewish guilt. The first is giving a blowjob and feeling bad over it. Oh my God. While the latter is giving a blowjob and worrying what your mother will think. That's kind of funny. Without medication or therapy, I found other ways to cope with my depression. I began doing stand-up comedy 6 nights a week. Wow. Huh. He's been doing comedy that much, and, no offense to him, but his stuff just really isn't that good. He's not really that funny. But which was an easy way to avoid the dating scene. But when I moved to Manhattan after college in 2001, my shame reached its tipping point, and I developed a habit of downing bottles of cheap, is it wine? Red wine alone in my apartment. Yeah, man. Well, I've known that he's been gay, actually, when I was talking to my dad about this like 5 years ago, when I first discovered him, because I discovered him through my brother who watched his interview with Milo Yiannopoulos at the time when the Dave Rubin show had the chalkboard behind the guest. And it said at Dave Rubin, Twitter, here's the guest today. That's the first time I think that was when I was introduced to Dave Rubin. Then I've been watching I watch his show seriously every Saturday. I've been doing it every Saturday for 5 years, but huge fan of his, just to say. So, that was my freaking last short story. Where is it? Oh, wait, I left it at the laundromat. Anyways, his name was in my last short story. But anyways, so, that's the thing, man. I didn't even know he was, that's okay. I didn't even know he was gay, to be honest. Like probably the first 3 months I was watching his interviews, and because I never seen any of his stand-up comedy, I was just watching the clips from his show on YouTube. I didn't even know he came from the Young Turks until like maybe about 4 or 5 months into watching his show that's where he came from. And originally the Rubin Report was on that network. I didn't know that. So I just thought he was just YouTube. But, I thought he started with the Rubin Report. Anyways, I didn't even know he was gay for the first 3 months. But anyways, it's just, I believe that there are some men that are, oh, I gotta move the vacuum. It's okay, buddy. Come on. Here, let me move this. There you go. The cat's trying to get off the couch. He's scared of the vacuum. There he goes. All right. Anyways, so, it's, I honestly believe that there are gay men, but it's still like, I think you should, if you're gay, then you're gay before being saved. But if you become saved, like if you become a born again Christian, then it's still a sin and an abomination in the Bible. It's still a sin in God's sight. But if he needs to reach out to you first and pull you in, and then praying will, eventually make that person straight. Or Alexa, turn off. It's for the cat's water. Anyways, I had to boil his water this morning. So let's continue. I'm going off on a tangent here. See, this is why no one watches my videos. I just randomly talk. I'm just like Patrice O'Neill. I just go on a tangent for like 40 minutes. No one cares what I have to say. Anyways, to top it off, I also turned into a pothead. One day in early September, I was walking through the Upper East Side when I began to hallucinate. I thought the buildings on both sides of the street were shaking. Oh, he was having a panic attack. Swaying from side to side. It was like that scene from Christopher Nolan's psychological sci-fi movie Inception. Or Woody Allen's Deconstructing Harry. I've never seen that. Robin Williams is forever out of focus for the rest of the cast. I never did like that movie Inception. Anyways, this was the moment I knew I had to get a grip on reality. I was literally self-medicated to the point of delusion, and it scared me straight, pun intended. Okay. So later that day, I reached out to my good friend Mike, who was one of the Sorry, I felt like someone grabbed me there. Anyways, my house is possessed. Sorry. Anyways, where was I at? Who was one of the first openly gay comics in the city. We knew each other from the stand-up circuit and often went for drinks. He had no idea what was coming that random Monday evening, but at the end of the night, as we parted ways at the Times Square subway station around 12:30 a.m., I came out for the very first time. Instantly, I felt a massive wave of relief crashing over me. If I move around a lot, sorry about that. I have a bad back. Anyways, the world seemed so much bigger, brighter, and bountiful as I walked home. And contrary to the warnings of televangelist Pat Robertson, I hadn't been struck by lightning. Yeah, well, that guy's a Luciferian. So instead, I felt buoyed, B-U-O-Y-E-D, buoyed. It's that thing that's a dinghy in the ocean, by a huge rush of adrenaline. Bludgeon, it's not bludgeon. As I climbed into bed, the future seemed truly exciting. That night I slept better than I had in years. Yeah, because that's, that's what he really was inside, with his brain's chemistry and whatnot. That's who he really is in the flesh. Okay. Without Christ, that's who he really, he really is a gay man without God. But then if he becomes one of God's children, then he, becomes straight. Okay. So a lot of people aren't going to like that, especially if people want to come to listen to me read out of this book. They're not going to like that, but that's okay, man. We all have our opinions, and I base mine off the Bible. Okay. So, I said that kind of weird. Anyways, but the next morning I was jolted awake by a panicking phone call from my dad. He was clearly distressed, so I thought somebody had died. Until he told me that he had just seen a plane hit the World Trade Center South Tower. I shouldn't laugh. I'm sorry. Apparently, a second plane had hit the North Tower just 18 minutes earlier. He could literally see the smoldering buildings. Oh, it's the cat. Sorry, the freaking cat's behind me. From his office in the Garnet district of Midtown Manhattan. Okay, shocked. Just a second. Sorry. Okay. All right, let's continue. Right, anybody that comes on this video that's, against Dave Rubin, because I used to watch that for a little bit. What was his name? It's the dude that was like a man wearing a wig in the video with lipstick, and they were, talking down they were doing the chapter by chapter breakdown of Jordan Peterson's book. He's like, oh yeah, that guy's a boogaloo boy, look at his shirt. Anyways, I turned on the TV to CNN, and there it was. America was under attack. When I walked outside, I could taste the black atric smoke against the roar of police sirens. Hundreds of dazed and confused people had brought First Avenue to a standstill. Like them, I felt totally stunned by the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil, but I also felt a strange sense of guilt about it all. It sounds crazy and deeply self-absorbed to admit now, but as this ungodly horror was unfolding, I honestly thought it had something to do with my coming out. I released this awful secret to the world, and now the world had struck back. So, twofold there. That's pretty funny. I shouldn't have said that thing about Dave Rubin's stand-up. I watched his stand-up. I watched him do stand-up opening for Jordan Peterson when they were on that tour a couple years ago. It's not bad. Anyways. I had the chance to see them too back when I was working at the surgery center as an OR assistant / anesthesia technician. I had a chance to go see them in Tempe. So, and I did in 2017 or something. I don't know, why did I not do that? I had the money, but anyways, I've never met any of these people, but anyways. So 2 things here, like what Dr. James White says on the Apologia podcast, it's just like the coronavirus that's been going around for the last year. I honestly believe this. It's God's judgment on America, okay? We are the new Babylon, okay? This is not a Christian society. We live in a pagan society. For genuine Christians that actually have ran the faith, like were steadfast throughout the whole time. God pulls you back in. It's his people. You know, when Jesus talked about the narrow gate, to my personal opinion is I don't even believe 5% of the world is saved. I don't even think 5% of the world is genuinely Christian. Most people glamour onto faiths and whatnot because it makes the most sense to them. But, when God allowed these people, he could have killed these people. He could have struck them dead before the planes even took off or anything. God could have stopped that, but he allowed it to happen. That's God's judgment upon America. That's what I honestly believe. Just like, this virus that's been going around the world, God could have stopped those. I'm sure it was our freaking government with Bill Gates and all those people. Like, I'm sure it was something like that behind the scenes. Who knows if the Kardashians, coven was a part of that. Who knows? We don't know. Who knows? God could have stopped these people, and he didn't. This is God's judgment on the world of killing all these different people. But then you found out the whole coronavirus thing was kind of a hoax. So, it's just a gimmick to see if, everyone can be, it's like, oh, we know people are cattle, but to what extent? That's behind the scenes stuff. Anyways, I was so twisted by the closet's solitary existence that I genuinely believed. Sorry, I also have a list. Just a second. Come on, buddy. You throw up on the floor for water. Come on. Ew. Sorry. Anyways. Let's continue here. All right. I genuinely believed 9/11 was a consequence of my coming out just a few hours earlier. Man, what a freaking coincidence that must have been. That's how fucking insane the closet makes you. Sorry for the people, this is a rated R video. Sorry about that. I don't want any kids watching. So, and every single one of these videos that I put on here, none of them are made for kids. Even the ones where I'm talking about basic things that's basically PG content. Nothing I make is made for kids, okay? Sorry about the language. I'm just reading what he wrote. It's a depressing, solitary place where there's only room for one. Excuse me, sorry. There's no light, no air, and no comfort. Just you and your private dysfunctional thoughts. Stuck in a constant feedback loop from hell. It's a danger zone for your happiness, your relationships, and ultimately your identity. This is why it must be vacated early on. Otherwise, it produces a cycle of shame, deceit, and self-loathing that, once started, it's hard to stop. You'll morph into a proficient liar. Your friends and relatives will never get to know the real you. And perhaps most tragic of all, you'll never truly know yourself. As if that isn't enough, staying closeted also changed your relationship with reality. That's because every time you're inauthentic with the universe, you're disrupting your experience of it. This universe, I don't believe in any of that. My ex talked a lot about that. Well, the last couple exes. That's just Luciferianism. That's just, all these things of this type of meditation or meditation, all that stuff, the universe. I'm thinking he's just using it as in general, a big word to attach these things to, like the universe. remember my ex one time said something was happening to me. I forgot what it was. And she said, I'm going to put my vibes and my thoughts into the universe for you. I was like, what is that going to do? It's like with the, I don't know, but then they think prayers don't do anything, just like that joke that the pastor that I watch on Calvary, that he says they name their pet cat thoughts and prayers because the cat doesn't do anything. It's a terrible joke. Anyways, so all right, where was I at? Sends truth into the state of flux, distorting everything around you. It's like an endless bad trip. Okay. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's up to 11. All right. Conversely, the more you operate truthfully, the more reality remains stable and order manifests in your life. Despite all of this, the proverbial closet has never been busier. Good, decent people just like you are lining up to lock themselves away from the real world for a whole host of reasons. Some are motivated by self-loathing, while others feel fear, rejection, and even professional suicide. Each individual story is different, but they all share the same common thought line: the abject fear of being themselves in today's modern world. Okay. Fortunately, in the months that followed September 11th, 2001, I witnessed courage in others that inspired me to up my game. As a result, I forced myself to be more honest with more people, more often, even if it pushed me out of my comfort zone. Well, it just seems like, Dave Rubin, before he started his show, well, he did stand up before the show, so I don't know, maybe just forced him to, for him to think I have to be more of myself. If people get offended, whatever, I got to be truthful to myself. That, sometimes the brain's chemistry changes and whatnot. I mean, it's, these things, people do have these epiphanies. So anyways, let's continue. Eventually, I was living my truth in real life every single day until it became my new normal. I was finally being myself. Now, 20 years later, my life is exponentially better as a result of this, professionally, personally, and psychologically. Sure, if I'd done it sooner, I could have saved myself a whole bunch of pain and headache along the way. But hey, hindsight is 20/20, right? What does that say? My brother used at one time, the ends justify the means. This lesson was incredibly useful when I found myself hiding in the closet yet again, this time for my political beliefs. If you've been watching the Rubin Report, you probably know that my intellectual journey from progressive to rediscovering what it means to be truly liberal has been a long one. But it's also been facilitated by some of the world's greatest contemporary thinkers, including Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Ben Shapiro, Thomas Sowell, one of my favorites, Dennis Prager, Brett Weinstein, Ian Hersey Ali, Christina Hoff Sommers, and Peter Thiel. Who is this? Hold on, let me write this one down. Who is Ayaan Hersey Ali? Let me look that one up. Ayaan. Do some research after this video. Hersey Ali. All right, new person to study. Coming up next is going to be my low-key video about the pagan trickster god. What's that sound? We're doing construction next door. Anyways, they too came out of the political closet and helped me to see that tribalism is dead. Hey, what about that one guy who basically confronted you on all this, Dave? What's his name? The guy who wrote the book Uncle Tom and he got a bunch of flack for it. Larry Elders. There we go. All right. And that diversity of thought is far more important than diversity for its own sake. Okay. Now, having gone through the coming out process twice, I came out to my parents before. I came out and said I was asexual or I'm gray asexual. It's not true. I was just in 2015, I was very confused about my identity. A gray asexual is basically a Christian. So anyways, okay, so now having gone through the coming out process twice, I'm imparting my wisdom to you. After you read this book, you'll have no excuses left. You won't be able to hide anymore. Part biography, part blueprint for a future that's firmly rooted in the individual rather than the collective. This book details the current. Okay, so basically the point of this book, from what I'm understanding, is for you, someone who is closeted, like how he used to be, for someone who's closeted and not really like a forthright person who wants to be an individual, but you're way too polite and you're way too agreeable. I'm thinking that's what he means. You're really high in the agreeable spectrum for you to become an individual. You can still be polite and nice, but dude, your opinions are your opinions. If people don't like it, then they can debate you on it or don't talk to you. And then you go talk to someone else. Like, it's if you really boil this down, it's really not that difficult. Your friend is your friend. You can have differences and whatnot, but if they're trying to, it's okay for you even to have combat with your friends, but as long as you're not genuinely trying to demean you, So I'm assuming this is the blueprint of how to come out of the closet, just be yourself kind of thing. Politically, okay? I don't advocate that for sexuality. So anyways, where was I at? This book details the current madness of the left, and more important, gives you the intellectual tools to figure out who you really are and with whom you will ally in these crazy, confusing times. It's a roadmap back to the sane, balanced thinking that's liberal in the historical sense, regardless of your political persuasion. Okay? This book is your 10-step guide for political authenticity. It is. You'll learn how to, 1, embrace your wake-up call. It's the catalyst that brought you to these pages in the first place. Well, actually, my wife bought me this because she knows I'm a huge fan of the show. I technically don't need this, but anyways. Number 2, throwing up the Vulcan sign there. Number 2, there we go. There's no Baal or Pan worship here on this channel. Anyways, thinking freely or die. You'll get a much-needed crash course in classically liberal principles that stand the test of time. This is not a policy subscription for every issue of the day. It's a guidebook to the underlying principles that will help you navigate our political landscape. Liberalism, not leftism, is the best way of thinking that leaves room to agree or disagree. To change your mind as you learn new information and to be tolerant of others while remaining intolerant of intolerance. And that's actually great advice. From here, you'll make decisions that are best for you, which in turn will be best for the people and community around you. Okay? Sorry, getting cotton mouth. Or cotton throat, I don't know what's going on. Anyways, number 3, look at that, 666 right there. That's what the OK sign, that's what that means. Anyways, stop worrying about whether you're a Nazi, okay? Or a Nazi sympathizer. If you decide to embark on this intellectual journey, a member of the woke mob will undoubtedly accuse you of being a Nazi. In this chapter, you'll acknowledge the ridiculously obvious truth that you are not, in fact, a Nazi. By truly owning this knowledge, you'll free yourself from the number one weapon that authoritarians have in their arsenal, shaming. Yeah, but it doesn't apply if you don't care. Like, oh man, I can give you a great example right now. What certain music, with the music that tries to, I think a lot of music, like, the Super Bowl halftime show with the weekend that happened, the 2021 Super Bowl, that a lot of that wasn't coded. A lot of these music videos are coded, and the pictures, if you see the pictures on there, are coded. Like if you see them wearing white, black, and red, there's coding with those, okay? But, I mean, the influence doesn't work if you don't think it's cool or you don't care. It doesn't work for someone who's like me. It's like kind of, I'm a devout Christian, but I'm naturally a nihilist. You know, I'm an absurdist. I mean, that's just how I normally act and think. I don't care about most. It's like, oh, well, like I saw something like that where these people were saying like, oh, I don't know if, like what I was watching. This is a long time ago. Like, oh yeah, these musicians are really putting out feminism or what. It could have even been on Dave Rubin's show. I don't remember, but really putting out this feminist message and this liberal message and things about like all these different things of these rappers and whatnot. It's like, but then when I look up the rappers, like they're mostly trash. So, or they're not cool. It's like, you know, I don't know, man. Those things don't affect me. I don't really think it affects most. Not most, but it doesn't affect a lot of people the way Dave thinks it does. So, like, I can think for myself. Like, it's even if I listen to something that's like a metal band that's inherently satanic or whatever, doesn't mean I'm going to become, you know, a Satan worshiper. You know, it's just like when someone who believes in the pagan gods or like who worships Odin or Thor or whatever, or someone who believes that they're going to Valhalla in the afterlife, they can listen to Crimson Thorn or Mortification or whatever, like, you know, Christian death and black metal bands and not become Christian. That's up to God, you know. It's just like, it's not, he's making this more black and white than it is. So anyways, you're not a Nazi, whatever. If you are, I don't care. So, I mean, I care, but at the same time, it's like, whatever. So, you remove the power from this loaded word by stopping such accusations to control the way you think. Sure, you know that real racists and bigots exist. You know, don't ask Jesse Lee Peterson. Don't ask him that. That doesn't make you one of them, obviously. Look, dude, here's my thing about stuff like that. Obviously, the Nazis, like obviously they were satanic. Like, obviously. The whole, I mean, you know, the whole thing with the, what is that, the swastika, where they took it, but originally it was like a Tibetan or Buddhist meaning for peace or something like that, like way before, you know, that they were even a party and whatnot. Like at the beginning, it was a Christian state, quote unquote, like how America's a Christian state, but it's more of like a Catholic thing. And don't even get me started on the Catholics. You know, that's just basically a whole boatload of Satanism by itself. But anyways, so, I mean, they weren't bowing to the cross or Jesus. They were bowing to the nationalist socialist state. That's who they were bowing to when, you know, Hitler came into power and whatnot, as World War II was amping up to go when they were going to invade Poland and whatnot. Like, they were bowing to their own government. The whole thing the whole thing was just basically, like, I don't even know anybody that says they're a Nazi or whatever. Even when I was watching, you know, America First with Nicholas J. Fuentes, and I've seen things about Gavin McInnes and like different things like, oh, they're alt-right and alt-right, whatever, and David Duke and stuff. It's like there's shreds of truth in the things that they're saying, but I don't genuinely think they're Nazis. Like, if you genuinely bow your knee to the foot of the cross and you're saved, what you believe in, what is that, white nationalism? It's just like, dude, I don't care. Like, so it's just a thought. It's a way of thinking. I don't adopt it, but it's just a way of thinking. It's like when someone bows down to the Black Lesbians Matter movement. Cool, fine, do what you want to do, you know? I don't agree with it. It's like the whole alt-right. Oh, was that my car? Oh, that was my car alarm. Anyways, let's continue. We still got some more to read here. I'm just going to read through the rest of this because we're running out of time. I actually want to go 30 minutes. We're almost at an hour. I'm talking too much. Check your facts, not your privilege. Okay, page 8. Perhaps most important, you'll also arm yourself with some facts that will enable you to combat some of the most pervasive political myths of our time. From the wage gap to climate change. All too often, we go into conversation, arguments, and debates without proper information at hand. Very true. Instead, we rely on some general sense of what we believe. You'll also learn how to have more productive political dialogue, making Thanksgiving dinner with your loud, opinionated uncle a bit more bearable. Well, that's my parents. Replace uncle with parents for me. My parents are very extreme left wing. They are constitutional Democrat. Hold on, they are conservative Democrats, but they love to fight with me, my brother, about politics and my personal leanings. You bring up Alex Jones at my parents' house, and it's just screaming nonstop for like 30 minutes. Anyways, number 5 or 4, never surrender to the mob. Well, that one should be like duh. Once you have the facts, it also be much easier to resist the outraged mob. So talking about Twitter, currently one of the key tricks the mob uses is to keep you second guessing yourself. Something that's quite easy to do when you don't know what you're talking about in the first place. If you are telling the truth, okay, I'm going to put my hands here. My back is starting to hurt. If you're telling the truth, though you're keeping your cool, you can only stand up to the mob, but also stare them down. At times, it seems like your entire life is about to become undone. But the secret of the mob is that it is always looking for new prey, just like the medical field. It's a little dog with a loud bark, and eventually, if you don't give it what it wants, in this case, your apology or you surrender, it'll quickly get bored and move on to its next target. Yeah, it's like what Gad Sad said about the spider wasp. They're spider wasps. In the midst of this, you will find out who your friends are, either through their support or their attacks, but you will come out stronger. Know that and do not be afraid. Okay. Stop hating America, the West, and straight white men. That's 100% on my part, dude. 100% agree with that. One of the motivations you'll have to stand against the mob is that you will love your country. Okay. Yeah, but I put Christ over nationalism. So the straight white men within it and Western values in general. Completely agree with that. In fact, you'll know that America isn't perfect, nor could any nation ever be, but that she has granted more people freedoms than any other country in the history of the world. You'll also know the straight white men aren't evil. Well, they are, but it's actually racist and sexist to believe so, quote unquote, and that Western values rooted in individual rights are the cornerstone of free societies. Defend them proudly. Really quick, I don't agree with that. All white men are evil. All races of all people, class, creed, color, everything. Everyone that has original sin but Jesus is evil. Everybody is wicked, okay? But I know he's talking about the whole leftist political correctness stuff. That's the essence of this, okay? I get it. Learn how to spot fake news, okay? 2 pages left. So much of this hatred comes from our deeply corrupted mainstream media. Activists pretending to be journalists have helped spread fake news more than Donald Trump ever could do on his own. So we'll look at how to spot the lies. You'll learn that the blue check Twitter acti at Vox, BuzzFeed, and HuffPost release ideologically driven articles presented as legitimate journalism. Yeah, well, that's why you got to listen to, the David Knight show. If you got to listen to news, put that on. Or Ben Shapiro show or Dave Rubin. Like, that's my news, It's just here in Phoenix or in Arizona and, Scottsdale, there's a whole lot of just garbage out there. I'll put it like that. And like the local news, it's too cucky. Like, I can't do it. I try to watch the local news like every morning at my old job. I was not able to do it. So anyways, it's because they're not biased. I mean, they're calling the whole thing, this is the insurrection of Donald Trump. And will he be going to jail? Find out in 10 minutes. Like, and this is the local news on that thing. It's the local news station, the Fox, whatever the Fox 12 or whatever the thing is called. I don't know. It's just hot garbage. Just watch his show if you want the news. Okay. You'll no longer believe that just because the staff at the New York Times and CNN once did their jobs, they also do it now. Instead, you will become a discerning consumer of news. Okay. Most of the news cycles is all work anyways. Technically Fox News and CNN of the left and right thing. It's if you really boil this down and really think about it, this is all a distraction anyways. If you're not, If you're not focused on this and having this, as your guide, then the news, these are just don't worship it. It's a distraction. It's just things you're supposed to know, So anyways, where was I at? I'm losing my voice here. Understands that if a story fits a narrative too well, then it's probably just propaganda. True. This partisan activism is partly what has led to the historical nature of cable news and clickbait culture that we see today. It's not really important who knows more or who has the truth on their side. It's about who feels the more righteous. This can be fun. It can be fun and it can go viral. But knowing facts and fighting for the truth are far more important and eternal. Return to these pages when need be. Okay, so 2 left. Find a mentor. In this chapter, you'll learn why a smart, complementary mentor is the ideal as you cultivate your new future. That's what you learn in church. That you need a mentor. You need you need an elder to always be able to go to. I have 2 elders. So you'll also hear the lessons I was taught by my friend and mentor, Jordan Peterson, the psychology professor and global phenomenon. He's had an indelible effect on the person I am today. And I had the honor of touring alongside him for 2 years. He helped me become a better person. And I hope that sharing my journey will give you a little something extra to ponder too. Move on with your life. Last point, and then we'll end here, going from chapter 1 to chapter 2. Chapter 2 will be either tomorrow or Monday. Today's Friday, all right? It's like February 19th or something. Anyways, you'll understand how to pack all this stuff away and go live your life away from endless introspection, self-obsession, and navel-gazing. Sure, it's important to be switched on, but it's unhealthy if you can't switch off. Okay? Chapter 10 gives you express written consent to stop. Excuse me, sorry, I'm drinking a cherry Coke here. It's rude manners, excuse me, sorry. Chapter 10 gives you express written consent to stop politicizing everything in your life. Okay? Trust me, this is a game changer. Don't burn this book. It may not usher in a world of peace, balance the national debt, or improve your sex life. But while those are worthy pursuits, that wasn't my goal. I want to champion the values that keep people safe, sane, and free. The reason? These shared values are under threat, okay? We currently live in a time where people from the world's freest societies are afraid to speak up for fear of an outrage-fueled mob. I have a new account on Twitter. I've been trying to get banned on that thing. It's not working. I still have an account. Sure, these people, it's just at this point, it's like a troll thing. It's fun. I find it fun. I don't care. See, here's the thing. If you're like Albert Camus, I call him Camus. Albert Camus, whatever, the guy that wrote The Stranger. Look, man, if you stop caring, this guy right here didn't care. This dude right here, he didn't care. Richard Bronigan right there. Dude, well, actually, did he? He went to his friend's house. He went to his friend's house and shot himself anyways when he was 48. Here's my point. Dude, if you don't, I don't care what people say about me. I don't, who cares? I get banned, it's whatever. My faith is in the Lord Jesus Christ. Blessed be the triune God. I say it every night, okay? That's where these things come from. I mean, Isaiah, the whole book of Isaiah, he preached to everybody in the whole area of, was it Nineveh or something? I forgot. It's somewhere in Israel. Maybe I'm thinking of Jonah. Anyways, with Isaiah, not one person came to the Lord the entire time he was preaching. Not one person. So just put your faith in the Most High. That's it. If everything disappears, I mean, I wrote 8 books. I got a lot of my books up here. My friend who actually bought me this book right there, he bought me this book for Christmas once. He has more books that I've written than I own. But if all these just evaporate and this house was on fire, I'd be pissed off and upset for like a month. But like, really, doesn't matter, really? You know, things in the present, the physical. Like, dude, who cares? Like, just be yourself. Like, who cares about what someone, you know? I mean, we'll get into this later, okay? You'll probably get into this later, and then I'll talk about it. Okay. Instead, I wanted to champion the values that keep people safe, sane, and free. Okay, he's talking about Western culture. The reason? These shared values are under threat. We currently live in a time when people from the world's freest societies are afraid to speak up for fear of an outraged fuel mob. Sure, these people can be intimidating, but if they haven't stopped me, then they shouldn't stop you. In fact, the world desperately needs people like you. Like me, unafraid of the truth and brave enough to stand up for it no matter the consequences. All right, now let's get to it, you racist, sexist, homophobes. Chapter 2, embrace your wake-up call. And this one's going to be for tomorrow. I mean, look, man. The thing is that, like, I'm most likely going to be chiming in about these things, like, later on. I mean, it's a good first chapter. I mean, it's, you know, there are some funny points in it. I personally enjoy the man's work. I definitely like to listen to his show. I mean, he's been doing the roundabouts with on what is it, The Blaze with Glenn Beck, his network. So I listen every Saturday. It's Friday. I'm probably going to listen tomorrow too. But I mean, here's the gimmick with that. It's like, I'm not saying he's peddling easy answers. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that these things, maybe it's just because I'm already advanced in these things already. I've already been thinking about, let's say I was in high school and I found this. It would have blown my mind if I was in high school. Like, oh, really? I can do, you know, I mean, even back then I was kind of just doing whatever I wanted. I don't know. It's not for people like me, I guess. It's like that page on that page I follow. Jordan Peterson's Lost Boys, high IQ Lost Boys or something like that. It's just, these things are for people that need the help, but they don't know how to be confident. Really, the confidence comes from you obey this, you stay celibate, don't watch porn, stop masturbating. I'm talking just for men. I'm talking about, you know, try to read the Bible, the entire Bible in a year's worth of time, and then watch the lectures of, you know, Jordan Peterson. I'm gonna quit showing this book. But anyways, that's the whole thing here. So I don't know what else to say. So, you know, hope you guys liked it. God bless. Let's go on to chapter 2 for next week.